guys. Last week I said that we had some exciting news, and here it is. We are joining the Belly Up Sports, or have joined the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, and on YouTube as well. Belly Up Sports is an awesome company that I interned at and done a show called The Corner Booth. So go check out Corner Booth Pod for all your sports need. But stick with DCU, of course, for all your entertainment and movie stuff. We're super excited to be a part of the Belly Up team. There's tons of great stuff. If you love college football, check out Tailgate on the Quad. If you like basketball, midweek, mid-range, there's something for everyone. And it's an awesome podcast network that I'm super excited to be a part of and glad to join on behalf of 2DCU. We're still a part of the Godzilla network, of course. So obviously check out those shows like you've been doing. But honestly, yeah, we're just super excited to join the team. And another big thing is we are on Twitter. I did say we had a Twitter coming. It's at 2DCU Show. So go ahead and follow us on Twitter. We'll keep you up to date on entertainment news, movie news, casting, all the types of stuff, as well as let you know when our episodes come out. So it's super exciting. We're super happy to be at the Belly Up team. And check out all the Belly Up podcasts as well as the Godzilla Media podcast. Thanks, guys.
Actually are losing at halftime.
Okay, so Kevin, you're just going to talk during the movie?
I guess I'll talk.
Wow, we're doing a dirty intro.
Now?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2DC.
God damn it. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2DCU, Two Dudes Cinematic Universe. As you can see, we have a litany of people for our Spider-Man review panel. Returning is the favorite Titsworth brothers, Connor and Trevor. Thanks for coming in, fellas. You'll remember them from Dune review. Connor, though, I don't know if you know nearly as much about Spider-Man as you do about Dune. That we'll have to test it.
No, don't put me to that test.
Not you haven't read all the source material like you did Dune, but
there's way more.
There's way more for sure. The new face that you see down there is we're going to refer to him as the amazing Kevin, considered to our normal Kevin. But I childhood best friend here, Kevin Hollenberger, is joining us. Literally, like, if you look at like the foundation of me and Kevin's like friendship, it's built on Spider-Man. So I had to have him in on this. We used to play Spider-Man growing up nonstop. I believe he had a little dog, little Jack Russell, and it was Spider Dog. Not sure how that fit in the plot, but we always made it work. So thanks for coming on, Kev. Kevin's also going to be our like 2DCU film guy, because he's actually got a film degree, folks.
I do.
And Kev, you do have some short films, some award-winning short films. Where could people find that stuff? Because that stuff's really cool.
You can check it out on AVW Studios YouTube page, and then we can also. You said you're going to put a link.
Yeah, I'll put it in the link too. Perfect. Yep. So I'll throw a link into that. Check those out. There's some really cool stuff. So it'll be cool to kind of have the perspective. Kevin, Trevor, don't raise your hand at me.
Okay, my bad.
While I'm in the middle of a thing.
That's my bad. He's in the middle of a thing, Trevor.
I'm in the middle of a thing, Trevor. Now I'm lost. Now I have no idea what I'm going to say.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that we'd really be stealing from the listeners or watchers, if you're watching on YouTube, that when you and the amazing Kevin played Spider-Man as children, don't leave out the fact that he was always Spider-Man and you were constantly MJ.
Yeah.
You really,
Yes, I was.
Well, you have like the initial names.
Yeah,
it made sense.
exactly.
Right. It just made sense. It really.
And there was no multiverse at that point, so like somebody had to be MJ.
Right. There wasn't multiple Spider-Men. And I felt like it would have been culturally appropriating to be Miles, so I had to be MJ. And that was the situation. So no, for sure. But it is fun to have Kevin here too, because he can give us and Connor also does a little camera stuff too. So I'm a little behind the camera view into maybe some of the making and some of the more technical stuff in the movie. So that'll be fun too. We're going to start off with our non-spoiler talks of it. So if you haven't seen it, you can stick around for this part. We'd love to have you. We're just going to kind of go around and give our thoughts. I'm going to want to start with Trevor. I know that's not what anyone thought anyone was going to say, but yeah, I want to start with Trevor. Trevor, kick us off, man. Spider-Man No Way Home, no spoilers, no plot details, anything. What'd you think about this movie?
As the self-proclaimed knowing least about movies and comic books in the group, I will just say that it is unbelievably fun. And when it finished, I was sitting right next to JD, and I tapped him on the shoulder, and I said, I didn't stop sweating for that entire movie. Now, it could have been that it was just really hot in there,
It was
but
warm.
I like to think that it was mostly just the excitement and like anxiety of like everything that was happening. It is like point A to point B. Like it is very, very fun. Maybe one of the most fun Marvel movies that I've seen.
Connor, you want to take off from that?
Yeah, I feel like the more I've thought about it since seeing it on Thursday night, the more I realize like this isn't so much a movie as it is like a 6-year-old's birthday wish come to life on screen.
My birthday.
Where it's like-
wish is
I was gonna
6
say.
years
Yeah, that's it. Kevin's birthday wish, years and years in the making. It finally happened for you. This
God.
year, you must not have told anybody because it came true, and it's incredible. I think it's one of those movies that like it feels like Russian nesting dolls. Like there's so much in it that like it starts as this cool little thing, and then like all of a sudden another cool big thing like envelops that, and then another cool bigger thing envelops that, and then it just keeps going. And I know we'll get into spoilers about like where that ends up going, but like it starts high. And then it just continues to go to a point that you're like, I didn't even know we were allowed to do this. Like, I imagine somebody writing the
They're
script
breaking
with,
the
like, a
rules.
joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I originally, like, I can't imagine the screenwriter sitting down to be like, all right, cool, and this is what Spider-Man will be. Like, I would not have had the, like, I guess, huevos to dream that big. Because I, like, would just imagine, like, if you sent that off to the studios, they'd be like, very cute, where's the actual Spider-Man script? Like, we can't do this.
Right. Feels like Kevin Feige is at the point with this movie. He just showed us I can do whatever the hell I want.
Anything. Yeah.
Anything I want. I can do whatever I want.
It was so cool. It lives
right,
up to all of the Spider-Man adjectives. It's ultimate. It's amazing. It's spectacular. Like it just hits.
Right. All right. Amazing, Kev. What did you think? Long term. And I will say, like, I know you just from talking, we're obviously, we all love the first Spider-Man was our Spider-Man, right? 100%.
yeah.
Like,
No, for
as
sure.
kids, I mean, that was like the nostalgia in that. But the Amazing Spider-Man gets a lot of crap. I know talking to you, I kind of lean with you. I think it gets too much crap. I know you like those movies. Now we got the Tom Holland verse. What'd you think about this trilogy and how it all kind of came to an end?
I think I love this movie, first
Right.
off. Like, this is great. It's puts Tom Holland Spider-Man almost to the top of my favorite Spider-Man. And that's
Right.
not what I thought before. But yeah, this movie was great. It had everything you wanted, everything that I was hoping for, it did. And I, like Trevor was saying, it's so much fun. Like, it's probably one of the most fun MCU movies. Like, up there with like Avengers.
100%. I mean, there's a lot going on, but they seem to kind of manage it pretty well.
Yeah.
Other Kevin, not so amazing Kevin. What'd you think?
Kind of echoing what you guys said.
It's hard
We'll
without
get, we'll
spoilers,
get to it
right?
during,
Yeah.
whenever we get to ranking these, but it's kind of hard to talk about specifically because what is a spoiler versus what is not, given the trailers that came out before this. But
If it's in a trailer, I think it's okay to say.
just fucking cool, like top to bottom, awesome. There isn't a B plot in this movie, which is interesting, and so you follow A to B to C to D the entire time, and they know how to pace it so well that you're rewarded every 10 minutes with something either nostalgic fun or something that's both. And it's just a wild ride for I think the third longest Marvel movie on record. It's just incredible that they just hold on to your interest the entire time and just take you for a freaking ride this entire movie. Can't say enough good things.
So I just want to start by saying I agree with all of you guys. Like, I think this movie, you've heard the cliche. It's a love letter to Spider-Man, but that is just so true. Like, it really is. It's a ton of fun. It is funny. The action is great. The characters, there's a lot of good interactions and a lot of heart in this movie that I think I was kind of expecting, I guess, because we were told that, but it delivered on a lot of it. I will say, I got to throw just a little negative pinch in there. I'm going to come across negative because, like, I don't think this is a perfect movie. I think there are flaws. I feel like people reviewing this movie right now, if you say flaws about it, they think they're going to be picked up with like by white men in jackets and taken to the Sony studios or something. I don't know, be tortured or something. But I do think there's flaws. The thing I keep saying, and I know I told Trevor this, I've texted a few people it's just a good way to summarize my thoughts. The plot is there to service the spectacle.
Yeah.
And that's all it's there to do. I don't think this plot is super solid and it can be picked apart. That being said, the highs are so high that it's almost like you don't really mind, that you're like, it's fine. Like, I don't want to look into that. Like, because I'm enjoying it so much. Right. I will say, and Trevor said this best, I watch movies because I want to be entertained. And God damn it, this is not 2 hours and 20 minutes of pure entertainment.
Yeah.
And on that note, like, I did love it. I do think people calling it the best Spider-Man movie ever, like, the praise on it, I think, has to come with a little bit of, like, we can say it's not perfect, and we'll go into why. Obviously, I have some more, specific thoughts about that in the spoilers. But does anybody else, is anyone going to say, I know you guys are, not everyone, but some people are going to be like, you're crazy, dude. Like, it was great. Any other non-spoiler, like, thoughts to kind of get out there before we go into it? Anybody?
Pretty excited shit on your opinions here.
Yeah. No, and I'm going to shut you down, Kevin, because that's what I do here. That's my job.
I can't wait for you to present a counterpoint, and I'll just completely ignore it because I'm an American.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And what's nice is Kevin says something I don't like. Boom.
Take
Go
him
on. See ya. Back to your universe, pal. Back to your universe.
Oh, shit.
See ya. Yeah.
Oh,
I'll add one
Infinity
more
War
thing.
there, just gone. God.
What's that, Trev?
I think it's my favorite MJ Peter Parker. Like, it is.
That's
It's
chemistry.
Interaction.
Yes,
Yeah.
like it was like, it's not a love movie, but there is some stuff where you're like, this is like, it's just awesome. That connection, and it helps a lot that Tom Holland and Zendaya actually are like in love, in real life. It makes it all so much like just more real. But it was like, when they do dedicate times in this movie to showing their relationship, it's flawless. I couldn't think of a better way that they could have done it, and a better way that it was portrayed.
I'm also going to throw this out there. If you're talking about the romance, like, it helps that you've got Ned as the third wheel instead of Harry, who's Harry's
her.
always
like
doing
his foil.
Well, yeah, but like
Creepy,
Harry's
borderline,
always doing
yeah.
his best impression of a human being. He's kind of like Mark Zuckerberg in that way, where you're like, this man isn't real. No one would actually do or say any of these things.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I
I
love
think
my
you're right.
friends. I'd kill for them.
Yeah.
All right, Harry, that was weird. It's
Yeah.
a weird thing to tell a nurse. You weirdo.
Happy to pay the bills, Otto.
But Trevor, to that point, I think you make a really good point. Like, yes, I love Zendaya and Tom Holland in this. It was interesting going into this too, because they had just kind of gotten together like last time we saw them. So I had a little bit of worry going in, like, oh, would they rush it? Like, all of a sudden they're going to be like, and they're in love. And it's like, well, like, really? Because I think that was a problem with the Toby Spider-Mans, is they're like, MJ and Spider-Man are in love. I'm like, are they? Like,
Yeah,
God, it
bangs
feels like
like
you haven't
5
shown
guys
us
in
that
that
at
series.
all, that they're in love. Yeah. So I was a little bit worried about that being a possibility. And I thought they just, like, right off the bat, yes, they're deeper in the relationship. We miss some stuff. But the way they interact, it's like, oh, like, I get this chemistry. Like, yeah, no, it just clicked. It was like a high school relationship. And it was like a month later, like, they're basically in love, and like kind of love at first sight stuff. And it just worked in a way that I was a little worried about going in. And it kind of nailed their dynamic 100%. And that 3-person dynamic you mentioned with Ned is so much fun throughout the movie.
I really appreciate it that they kind of strike the same balance that they do with like Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone's. Like, Gwen is useful to Spider-Man because she is smart and she has access to certain, like, she works at Oscorp and she's resourceful. And like the same thing with Zendaya, like, she is, their MJ in the MCU is this like genius student at a science or a science high school as well. Like, she's regularly in on things, and she's brave and she's clever and she's putting shit together, and she's like kind of playing, man in the chair with Ned. Every time that Kirsten Dunst is doing anything as MJ in the Raimi movies, it's just that she's Spider-Man's girlfriend. Like, that is
And
what makes her
usually in
special.
trouble. Yeah. Spider-Man's
and, like,
a bad guy snatched her, and he's got to go
right.
later.
Every
like,
movie she has to
every
get
movie.
saved at the end.
Yeah, or she's got something going on, and like Spider-Man is late for it, and like that is the only like plot thing. Otherwise, is like, we never get to do what I want to do because you are too busy being Spider-Man, which is fine. Like, that's serviceable, but
right. And that's, it's a part of its time, and we've kind of developed like a relationship, and like having like a female character actually be able to like be shown like doing like really cool stuff. Or like MJ in like the early 2000s is, you are here, like you said, because you are Spider-Man's girlfriend. All she does in those movies is sing poorly and get captured nonstop.
And scream.
And scream. She's great at screaming.
Yep.
But that upside down kiss, it takes it all back. So
there's something about it. Wait,
I was surprised they didn't do one in this movie.
I'm glad they did
too.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't. And that's another problem I slightly had
Yeah.
It is.
It's a Toby thing.
Yeah.
It's a Toby thing, but like it is. There is a lot of like fan service stuff in here, and most of it was handled pretty well, but there is a lot. I didn't always love it, but I think that's a good transition. Anybody else got anything?
Sounds like spoiler mode, boys.
Yeah.
Hey, Amazing Spider-Man, I didn't ask you. I'll call him when I'm ready to talk to you. Does anybody else have a thought, or should we just get into the spoilers? Is it time?
Plenty of thoughts. Let's talk about them.
Oh, you do? You have thoughts about
spoiler film thoughts. Let's go.
Cool. Oh wait, that's wrong. All right. That being said, if you haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, this is the time to go. Just come back when you watch it. It stays good. It'll be here whenever. If you don't care, I guess stick around. But I would definitely say go see this movie. And the theaters. It's a great theater experience. And what's cool about it is it's one of those movies that just because you didn't go opening weekend doesn't mean you're not going to be in a crowd. Me and Amazing Spider-Man Kevin are going together. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see it for the second time. I kind of wanted to get a second viewing in before the review, but didn't have it in the cards. Lots of football and beating Trevor and checkers yesterday about 4 times. So I had to do some of that stuff. But all right, with that being said, spoilers, go, because we're talking it. All right, so this movie finally gave us what everyone has been asking for. One of the biggest cameos we have ever seen in movie history. That's right. Hannibal Buress is back as Teacher and it was amazing. It was what we all wanted. It was great. I was glad to have Hannibal back. He was way better than J.B. Smooth. No, of course, Toby and Andrew. I mean, that's where we have to start, right? Toby and Andrew, I think were everything I wanted it to be. The interactions, they were asking and talking about Spider-Man stuff that I want like them to ask each other about, the web fluid and silly stuff like that. But to me, that was never where it felt fan servicey, and I thought that's where it might. I really thought they nailed that dynamic. And Andrew Garfield, good for you, my man. I think you really kind of brought yourself back up in a lot of people who are Andrew Garfield haters, which I am not. Let's start with the brothers there, whoever wants to go first. Andrew and Toby, did it work? Did it not work? I'm assuming it worked. What were your thoughts?
You go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, shockingly, I think it did. This is one of those things that, like, it's leaked, it's rumored, it's all over the place for a while. People are talking about them being in the movie, and you do think, like, that's your ultimate wish list item. But, like, the best way I can kind of put it is, like, remember as a kid back when you were putting together, and I guess this is spoilers inside of spoilers, if Santa Claus still brings your Christmas presents, you need to walk away for a moment. But remember before you knew your parents were putting presents under the tree and you were like, I'm going to ask for a PlayStation and a bike. And
you
it's
can't
like,
hear this, guys.
Oh, yeah. You're like, I'm going to ask for a PlayStation and a bike. And unfortunately, your childlike mind is like, yeah, Santa will make that happen. Your parents, on the other hand, are like, he must have just been too busy. You got the bike. We got the bike and the PlayStation here.
Yeah.
Like, we got everything. Like, if one of them had shown up, it'd have been amazing. If Tom Hardy's Venom would have showed up, I'd have walked out. Like, that's what I kept on thinking was, like, that's going to be it. I was like, we're going to get Tom Hardy's Venom, and that will be the tie-in. But, like, he will still occupy that, like, anti-hero space. Like, he's not going to come in and fight with the villains. He's going to fight with Spider-Man, but, like, for some other dumb reason, like, and they'll write it in, and Tom Hardy will eat a lobster, like, and that'll be the movie. But the fact that, like, no, we get Andrew, we get Toby, we get, like, this very charming scene where the two of them come into the world before interacting with Tom. Awesome. And then you get, like that incredible, like, it almost parallels perfectly, like, JD, we watched Far From Home the night prior to going and seeing this movie.
Yeah, we did.
And, like, that really cool scene where you've got Mysterio on the roof, like, with him before they fight the lava elemental, and he's like, oh, like, blah, 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 blah. They're going back and forth, and he's like, you just want to be a kid. Like, he's, like, making digs at Fury, and you're like, gosh, I wish Spider-Man did have an older brother. Like, it feels like that Hot Ones episode where Shia LaBeouf is like, I wish I had brothers. Like, and that's that same vibe you're getting from Mysterio and Spider-Man in that scene. Like, you do get that same scene, but with, like, a much deeper emotional resonance when they're talking him down off of the roof after May. It's so cool.
I think it's as great as the third act is. I love that scene on the roof is like it makes it all like connect in a much better way. And I just love because it's sitting there. It's like, well, like he's just gonna go do all this after the Aunt May, which obviously we'll get into, and them being like, dude, like we're older, we're Spider-Man, we've kicked a lot of ass. and we've also lost people, and it was our fault. Like, if anyone knows what you're going through, it's us. And I just, that's my favorite scene in the movie. Like, it is an emotional beat. Like, I absolutely love that. And I thought that first interaction with those three was when I was like, oh, good. Like, this isn't going to be cheesy. They're going to nail it. And I like that they had that, emotional beat before some of the more funny stuff. Trev, what was your thing?
I mean, my biggest thing out of the three Spider-Men was like Andrew Garfield's performance was like impeccable. Like when it came to him like summoning up tears, you know what I mean? Like on the roof, and he's welling up, and all of a sudden you're welling up, and you're like, dude, this is like so powerful. That was absolutely amazing. I don't keep up on what Tobey Maguire is up to. But I was kind of nervous. I was like, is he like in shape? Is he like ready to do this? Is he going to be fully committed to this? Because I didn't really know if it was like something that he would actually like buy into.
It didn't end on the greatest terms.
Exactly. And his performance was so good. The older brother like feel to it, and Tom gets two of them. I've always said that Tom Holland is my favorite Spider-Man and Peter Parker. I always thought that Maguire was a good Peter Parker, but not a great Spider-Man. I thought Garfield was a fantastic Spider-Man, but way too cool to be Peter. Yeah. Exactly. Way too cool to be Peter Parker, though. I thought Tom Holland was that perfect mix. And I feel correct in that with all three of them on the same screen together, but it was like a great thing of Neapolitan ice cream. And you just take the scoop and you get all of it, and you're just like, screw you. I want strawberry, chocolate, and vanilla. You get it. You get the perfect like spoonful. It was just like, it was perfect.
Andrew Garfield, it's like, vanilla ice cream on its own. It's like, I don't know if I want this. In the Neapolitan, you're like, this is pretty damn good. I underestimated vanilla ice cream.
Apart.
Yes.
This is necessary, and it's good.
It balanced each other out like really well. Yeah. All three of their different how they act, as their actual human beings, and then how the Spider-Men like interact with each other. I just thought that it was all complementary. There was nobody that took anything away from somebody else during it. I just thought it was as good as you could do to take three people who for a long time were the number one, you know what I mean? And like egos get into things and stuff like that. You take three number ones, you put them on the screen together, and nobody took anything away from the other one. It was great.
Yeah, they really struck a good balance there. Amazing. Kev, thoughts? I know you love both these guys in different ways. Talking to you,
I think they came in at the perfect time. Like, it wasn't too much, it wasn't too little. Like, it was just enough of Toby and Andrew coming in. Because if you had them come in like an hour into the movie, it would take away from Tom Holland's development in this movie, I think.
Right, it's his third of his trilogy. Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
So, and just seeing all three of them interact just like brought the kid in me again. Like, I remember sitting down, seeing Spider-Man 3 when I was like 10 or whatever, and just being so excited to see Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and then being so disappointed by Spider-Man 3 that I was like, I don't know if I want to see another Spider-Man again. But then coming into this movie and seeing them interact again, it was awesome. I couldn't, it felt like being a kid again. And it was perfect. I wish, or I hope there's more of those interactions going forward into the future. Because I think this movie is done so well that they will bring Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Andrew wants to. Andrew has said he'll do it. Like, he'll be the Venom Spider-Man or whatever if they want him to, and I wouldn't hate that. I would imagine Toby.
Dude, someone's got to punch Tom Hardy.
Someone's got to punch him. People shooting at Goo is getting a little.
I'm done, dude. Someone's got to beat that guy's ass.
Someone's got to beat him up. Yeah. They killed 40 lobsters in the filming of that, Connor.
And a rave.
Not so spectacular, Kevin. What are you thinking?
I'm
just shitting on you. I'm sorry. I'm just bullying you. There has to be a superior Kevin.
It's a lifestyle that I've grown accustomed to over the years. No, we're good. Just kind of to echo what all y'all have been saying already.
Right.
Let me take you back to 2015. right? A couple of years ago, before we even knew who Tom Holland was, before he hit the big screen, everyone's talking Spider-Man, but no one can decide who's better. We have the Andrew Garfield over here. Oh, he's too cool to be Peter Parker. Oh, he's a really quirky Spider-Man. And we have Tobey Maguire over here, all nostalgic, and he is the perfect amount of just stupid, dope idiot to have any social consciousness to be a great Peter Parker, not so good Spider-Man. We all know this.
It with 30 book bags in that one scene when he picks up 30. Went out of the way to
everyone is addicted to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. If you go back and watch those movies, everybody hates his Peter
so
Parker.
Mean to him.
Like,
no,
us
to Kevin here.
Just,
continue.
Turns out, best answer, put him in the same room. Have them talk to each other. The stupid, nerdy older brother, the sarcastic middle child, and Tom Holland being the freaking sweet, awesome dude he is for 6 movies in a row?
How the many? Page of the group. That's Trevor and Connor's little sister.
The superior to both of us. Yes.
Right. Much nicer.
But the way these guys interact, all the way through their entire time together is awesome. Not a wasted sentence. The way that they identify not just as one another, but as sort of like siblings is great. And I agree that they put the right amount of time into all these characters individually. Like you said, this is Tom Holland's movie. And obviously he is the shining gem in this entire thing. But as soon as you hit hour 15-ish, kind of.
It's a little over half. Yeah.
Maybe a little over half. God, that is just the right hit as soon as Aunt May, and then this is basically after, I guess, the Ned's, grandma scene. But this is like the next actual beat of the movie, and it hits you right at the right time, right when your heart's already broken in two, and you just swell, and you just get ready for this third act, and everything comes together right when they come into this movie. So it's awesome.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
No, I agree. I mean, I think you guys covered it. I mean, that we love the dynamic. I did think Kevin, you mentioned the brother thing, I think was a really good angle to go about it, to make them kind of feel almost like brothers. Cause it's like, you're going to have that connection. It's kind of like you get what I'm going through kind of thing. And I do love the way they kind of structured them all with different personalities that match their movies, but kind of like explored a little bit more of maybe more of that in their movies would have done them some good. Yeah. So there's kind of 2 points I want to kind of bring together, because it's hard to not talk about one without bringing up the other. And I want to talk about the way this movie was marketed. And with that, kind of the villain talk too. We can go into the villains. That's one of my biggest complaints about this movie. I think I would have liked it more if they didn't tell us the freaking plot line of it in the trailers. Yep. Way too much, I thought. And I thought watching the trailers, I'm like, oh, I'm not this is not where it's going to go. It's not just a spell. There's more. I got you, Marvel. Wink, wink. No, it was just a spell. And that's honestly one of my least favorite, parts of it is how it's set up. I didn't like the spell, and he just oh, this person's got to know that. And then it just kind of breaks open, and then it's it's in a box now. It just was all a little strange to me. I didn't love the way it was marketed, but that being said, it did tell us this. You couldn't avoid the villains. Did you guys kind of think they showed too much? And how did you think they fleshed out these villains? That's kind of open to whoever. We'll go with not so spectacular Kevin, because I feel like I've been shitting on him. How about you, Kev? You go first.
Just in reflection, I agree. The trailers and just the marketing of this entire, movie campaign has been a little over the top. Obviously, this is Marvel's first big movie. With Eternals and everything, it was pitching a new audience, pitching new characters. But this was their first for sure home run that they've hit since COVID, and I, in reflection, don't know how else they would have cut it. I feel like so much of this movie is based on checkpoints, right? Obviously you have he's with MJ and they're discussing, I'm Peter Parker or whatever. And then it's basically the jail scene. And then it's Doctor Strange. Villains come.
Hilarity ensues.
Yeah. MJ dies. Or not MJ. Aunt May dies. And then the final fight.
Spider-Man, final battle.
Yeah.
Hard to cut. Is all I'm saying. There's a lot of dialogue in this. And,
I kind of disagree that it's hard to cut.
Dialogue.
I think go ahead,
one
Connor.
for you.
Yeah,
All right.
because
So
we
Jamie,
kind
I
of
think
talked
I
about it
even-
a little bit.
I said this in the theater.
Yeah.
So movie trailers in general, and Amazing Kev, you've probably, I mean, being a film major, film trailers are this terrible thing that are like a necessary evil. You have to get people to go see your movie.
Yep.
You
Right.
have to show them bits worth watching.
Yep.
But unfortunately, when it comes down to it, pacing is the thing that happens in a movie. When
Right.
there's, a horror film, there's going to be lead up and suspense before you get to that jump scare bit. When there's comedy, there's going to be conversation prior to the punchline. Unfortunately, trailers look a lot like punchline, 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 and jump scare, jump scare, jump scare. So then by the time you go and see these movies, you do kind of say, oh, I know, I saw all the funniest parts in the trailers. I saw all of, the big horror beats in the trailers. And in superhero movies, you see the same thing. We're always going to get at least 20 seconds of the final fight. We're always going to see the big hero shot. We're always going to get, and Marvel does a good job of like editing in extra shit to the trailers or changing the way
lines.
things are structured, changing lines. Yeah. Letting Doctor Strange say shit. Like, of course he's going to. He's like the most arrogant dude in the MCU. Like, let this man say what he wants. But I think this movie, we're like, what? This was the 6th Spider-Man movie. This is Tom Holland's 6th Spider-Man
this
movie.
is the 6th.
Yeah, this is, or no, wait, this is way more than the 6th Spider-Man movie now that I think about it. Math, 8th Spider-Man movie. We get
Math
five-
is the real superpower.
Yeah, math is the real superpower. But here's the deal. You don't have to market Spider-Man that hard to me. I'm going to show up.
Right.
Yeah.
So I wish they had taken the bit that Peter is on the rooftop in the rain, ass beat, nose bleeding. He's just sitting there, and J. Jonah Jameson
beautiful
is
part of
like
the
movie.
like the world is falling apart. Blah 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 blah. God help us all, and it's all Spider-Man's fault. Yo, show me the uncut minute-long scene right there that takes place in the middle of the movie, and show me a beat-down, sad Peter Parker with J. Jonah Jameson yelling at him through a TV screen, and then just say Spider-Man No Way Home coming in December, and I bought my fucking ticket.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
end.
you're right.
I bought 8 other tickets prior to this. You show me that this is what we're starting at, knowing that Far
Right.
From Home ends with the identity being taken in.
Yeah.
And like, you don't even have to tell me Doctor Strange is in it. I never have to see a villain. You don't have to do anything. You just have to keep Tom Holland's mouth shut and put him on Jimmy Kimmel, and I'll show up. In fact, I think it would be a good bit if they did write into Tom Holland's contract for the next one, like, we're actually going to jokingly tape your mouth shut. Like, please wear this duct tape on. Like, we think it would be funny. The world knows that you're a spoiler machine.
But I will say though, to that point, you are an exception. You're obviously like a nerdy comic book fan, and they're not getting the butts and seats that they would normally, or I guess that they have been if they didn't, include the Doc Ock and Green Goblin and that kind of stuff.
Maybe not first weekend, but I would actually say, like, imagine that word of mouth all of a sudden. You decide not to go see Spider-Man, and your coworker comes in on Monday and goes, fucking Tobey Maguire was in it. You don't believe him.
And then you punch that guy in the face and say,
for spoiling it.
So this is where I disagree slightly with. I'm fine that the villains were in the trailer. Like, it did suck that Connor tapped me on the shoulder. He goes, "We're at a bridge." Like, okay, we're like the settings are all very clear of when the action scenes are coming, which sucks. Might be unavoidable. What I hated were the big ones for me were you didn't need to show MJ falling because that was so obvious. The Andrew Garfield moment, everyone knew that.
Mm-hmm.
And we wouldn't have went there. We wouldn't have been like, oh, that would be a cool thing that would happen. It would have hit so much harder. That being said, Andrew Garfield, maybe his best acting in the movie is that moment. Are you okay? Are you okay? Like, he's like welling up like that. That got me. And then the other one is the pumpkin bomb. Okay, this is where the important person died.
Mm-hmm.
I called Aunt May dying kind of because of that scene in a trailer, which is dumb. I shouldn't be able to do that. The trailer breakdown people shouldn't be able to do that. And I didn't watch trailer breakdowns, but I'm sure they nailed all the trailer breakdowns were kind of right. And that's a problem.
Yeah, a lot of the theories were
right.
all like every theory was correct. Like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back. All the villains are coming back. Andrew's going to save MJ and redeem himself.
I haven't called it a nod to Miles Morales.
Yeah. Which would be good.
You said he was going to be in it.
I said he was going to be in it, but yeah, at least they made mention.
I think if they just showed in the trailer just Doc Ock and no other villains, that would have worked even better.
Or even just a pumpkin bomb to be like, is it the Goblin or which
or
Goblin?
Hobgoblin,
or is it a new Goblin? Like, the first trailer I thought was much better. I didn't need to see the entire spell scene. Like that, I didn't need to see.
They basically show the entire thing.
That's what I didn't need to see. So that's where Kevin, because the only reason I bring this up is on our preview, me and Kevin said how they marketed this movie will either be a great success or great failure after we see the movie. And I don't think it was a great failure. I don't think they nailed it. I think that's a lot of Sony as well, because Marvel usually kind of
course it is, yeah.
And then there was the other parts of like freaking 15 minutes of the movie was released by Sony, like online. They're a minute here, a minute. Doctor Strange fights Spider-Man. It's like, I don't want to see that in my recommendations 2 days before the movie comes out. Like, what are you doing, Sony?
Well, how they were originally going to market it before they were even going to like reveal the multiverse was it was going to be marketed as Spider-Man versus Doctor Strange. And like, that was going to be the entire movie. And like,
that would have been fine.
The villains.
I would have been fine with that as like as a complete ploy. But I do want to talk villains, though. I want to get back into the actual movie. It's very clear that obviously everyone is appropriately celebrating William Dafoe being awesome. Pick doesn't skip a beat, and they give him a little more to do in this role. Almost, me and Trevor discussed similar to like a Joker, just crazy. Like the point when he's getting his face beat in, he's like smiling, like just that little bit of crazy that you love in a villain. Especially like a villain like a Joker or something like that, to where like their part of their like personality is like, I am a psychopath. So obviously he's amazing. But I do think and of course they had to do this. Like they didn't need Sandman and Lizard in this movie.
No,
I don't think they needed them like at all.
Lizard to the point where they left him in the truck.
Yeah. Lizard's like, I'm going to stay here. And it's like, well, that I have questions. Like if I'm Spider-Man, I'm like, no.
Yeah,
you don't get to stay in the truck.
There are how many? Come on, get in here. I'm like tying him up with one of Ock's tentacles and like bringing him in.
You're coming.
I feel like they added those two later because they're fully CGI the entire movie. Like, why is Sandman always sand?
Right,
like,
and they got the actors for that one scene. Which is cool and all, but like I didn't need, if you weren't going to have them at all, like I didn't need these characters. Even though I didn't hate having them in there, but they were definitely the least fleshed out.
Yeah. So real answer to your question is because it was cheaper to just do voiceover instead of animate the de-aging for both the actors. That's actually both of the scenes at the end when they both come out of their monster are both direct one-for-one recreations from the movies they were originally in.
Yeah, Sandman looks the exact same age.
Yeah. No, it's from Spider-Man 3. That shot is from Spider-Man 3.
Yeah. Right. Which maybe would have been good, but like I love the each one of them getting that moment with their Spider-Man at the end. I think it does a lot for those characters from their own movies, and a cool goodbye, and a little bit of a kind of a emotional finish that we didn't quite get with those other two Spider-Men, which is another thing I think I love about this movie is I feel like they earned like a proper goodbye, and I think they did that pretty well. But yeah, it just in general, like I understand there's a lot of them, and you don't want a Spider-Man 3 this. I think it was Connor who said the solution to too many villains. We just needed more Spider-Men the whole time. That was it. But they do, like Doc Ock and Green Goblin definitely get probably the majority of the like actually flushed out character, and Electro is there for comedy for most of it.
Well, what I was gonna say about Electro was I think he's like the real bad guy force in this movie, actually, though, where you have like the Green Goblin. It's like obviously half the time he's a Green Goblin, half the time he's not. And I think that it was mostly like the Green Goblin kind of like sitting back dormant, trying to collect information on what was going on. And then when he realized the perfect time to strike, or it was like, oh, they're about to like cure me. Now it's like fight or flight. I just have to come out and fight. Obviously, Doc Ock, never really that bad of a guy. It's just that the chip burns out, and all of a sudden now he is a bad guy. Electro, when they're in the apartment, though, the entire time, it might even be one of the first things that he says when he comes into the movie is, I like this. Yeah. I am so much more powerful here than I was where I came from. And they're sitting there, and he's talking to Sandman, and he's like, why are we doing this? Like, look at that. Like, look at all that electricity. Look at all that power. Like, don't you feel amazing here? And, like, he's going to cure us and send us back to give us a shot? Like, no, we're still probably going to die when we go back. Like, and I am the man here. So I really liked Electro, even though he was funny.
I did like Electro.
And he had good comedy. I really thought, like, as far as, like, where the movie takes a turn and you start really climbing up to that climax and all that stuff, Electro is probably the biggest driving force in my mind for that.
I still think it's Goblin, but yes.
And Electro allows Peter to put the like siphon on him. He's like, yeah, whatever.
Well,
like,
they're dying, but damn, I liked this. Yeah.
But then like you're right too though, because Goblin's like, once Peter comes out and he's got that like crazy cool like slow motion Spidey sense, but he's like, I don't know what's wrong, but something's wrong. And then he webs up Goblin and he's like, you were going to turn. And he's like, blah, blah, blah. And he does like the whole, like, he turns away. And then when he turns back, he's got that like creepy, terrible grin.
Very Smeagol.
And he's like,
very Smeagol. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very Smeagol. It's very Andy Serkis, who directed Venom. Can you believe that? Anyway,
Stick to mocap, my friend.
No, but he does. He says like, oh, we're not going back. And Electro's like, well, twist my arm.
I was literally
like, all right. If you say so.
He let him put the siphon on, but it was not a very hard argument to get him to take that thing off right away.
No.
Like it was. I love
very similar to where like Trevor's like, I'm not going out tonight. Like, hey, Trevor, we're going to get beers. All right, I'll go. All right.
Tell me that we're going to be beer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I that scene for Electro was very it was very good for me. I really liked how he was. Everybody else was kind of cool with going back, and he was like, no, I really, really don't want to.
Line of the movie too for me. At one point, I laughed about this for like minutes after. Like at one point, Connor looked at me. He's like, "Are you still laughing?" With the how'd you become electric? Fell in working at Oscorp. Fell in some electric eels. How about you? Yeah, Adam Rearranger. I fell into some sand. Gotta be careful where you fall, man. Yeah. I laughed about that for like the next 5 minutes of it. Like I literally sat there and I like replayed it and laughed again in a non-funny moment. And Connor like kind of looked at me. He's like, "What are you?" I'm like, I just can't get over how I don't know why that joke hits so hard.
Goblins like pile driving Spider-Man through floors upon floors of this condo, and JD's like,
like who are you rooting for?
Yeah, I'm like, what's
I got a little goblin in me.
Speaking of, I forgot. So like, it's been so long since I've seen Spider-Man 1, like proper Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire.
I thought you were going to say the No Way Home. I'm like, it was.
It's been so long, like a couple days, which is nuts for me.
It is. So excited.
No, I guess I forgot how formidable Willem Dafoe is in that movie as like a super soldier style. Like he and Spider-Man do go like
Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, you remember at the end of the movie, then like when they're in the brick building, like and it's all dilapidated, like they're just absolutely.
That scene holds up, by the way.
It does. It's very cool. It is very cool.
Really
and
good.
And they're
ending.
all battered and broken
Except
up.
for
which they like for some reason like didn't film at a high frame rate. They just told the actors like act like it's slow motion.
I was told
not slow mo, but it almost is.
Hawaiian punch and spit it out. I did that.
Yeah.
That's how they did that.
But no, like it's so cool watching them fight and like watching Spider-Man fight someone who's actually a proper like threat. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like for a little while we've gotten, Tom Holland solving like he always has to
He's just been beating guys.
That's exactly it. So like Toomes, Adrian Toomes, amazing, but it's he's just a dude. He's a guy. He's scary as all hell, but like a normal dude in a vulture suit. Like so Tom Holland has to outsmart him and learn how to use, his actual like abilities as Spider-Man. And then you get Mysterio, who again, just a guy, and then he's got to learn how to like trust the Peter Tingle. And like that's cool. That's your arc there. Here they're just like, what if dudes came for Spider-Man's throat? Like, what if they just beat the ever living piss out of him?
Yeah, and I always like those. Like, I love that kind of like archetype used in comic book movies. One of my favorite fight scenes in a comic book movie, and it's not choreographed like is insane or anything. It's Bane just beating the living hell out of Batman. Yeah. Like I don't like. It's just so cool to be like, oh shit, this is terrifying. He's like physically better than our hero, and we don't see that a lot. Like not only does he have to outsmart him, like he is just physically not a match, and I enjoyed that aspect of it. And then you kind of see it turn towards the end where Peter uses some of that anger and kind of has to come back, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. And I think so something me and Trevor talked about, and I don't want to say it's a flaw in these movies, but I think Trevor, when we discussed it, we kind of discussed it as a flaw. I want to kind of open it up to the Kevins here and see what they think, because I kind of know just from talking to you on the way home. One of the problems I have with this movie, and Trevor's actually the one who brought it to my mind, was we're 3 movies in a row where Tom Holland has screwed the pooch. I want to see a little growth. Like, he screws the pooch in every movie. It's like, he's the kid. It's what he does. It's like, well, like, But at some point, some growth would be nice. Like he is 0 for 3 in like the reason the bad guy kind of is the bad guy in some ways. Is that something you guys like thought about, or maybe something in the trilogy, or did you not kind of view it that way?
No, I agree with you. I think yes, he is. Tom Holland Spider-Man is always responsible for the bad things that are happening. And the first two movies,
which is a cool thing, usually.
Yeah, at least in Homecoming, he's usually saved by like Iron Man, which I didn't like. Like it's usually Spider-Man has to figure it out. In this one, yes, he did screw up the entire multiverse and bring all the bad guys in. But by the end of the movie, like with his end decision to not tell his friends who he is, I think that's showing you how he's finally accepting his responsibility. And like going forward, I think he will be a better Spider-Man because of it.
That's a really good point, because like he even goes as far to like not only not ask Doctor Strange, but basically like I screwed this up, I'm fixing it, you kind of go over here.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like that's a good point, because he doesn't really rely on the adult in the room per se or anything like that. Other Kev, did you have a villain thought or something more on that?
I'll also just add, I was just going to say, like, in terms of Spider-Man creating his own problems, that's kind of consistent with comic books, too.
True.
I feel like Spider-Man...
It's a good thing to have in Spider-Man.
A lot
of
other guys. Right.
It's his origin story.
He's It's very much his origin story. I mean, a lot of the time, the comic books always try to make you remember that he's like a 14 to 17-year-old kid a lot of the time in these comics, and he's figuring it out. But this, I feel like, does a better job of him not breaking the universe, in that he all that he wanted to do was to get into college. That was the only thing. The only thing that propelled this entire plot forward. He didn't fuck anyone over. He didn't make a stupid mistake. It was just a kid asking a friend for a favor, was all this was. So I don't think he really screwed the pooch up that much. But, you know, that is kind of a staple of Spider-Man going in the comics.
Even though Doctor Strange is really mean to him, it makes him feel like he does.
That's true. Yeah. And he goes further than he needs to make it right. Like, again, he won't accept, like, Doctor Strange is like, I got to fix. You're not going to love it, but it's what should happen. And he's like, no, we can actually, like, if we work a little harder than you're willing to, we can set this right in so many more ways. So,
and he's the first Spider-Man to do that, really.
Right.
Yeah. That's the other thing.
Don't try to save him.
No, I like kind of jokingly like didn't even think about it until this movie, but like the idea that all of those Spider-Man villains are people we've seen before, and they all do die. I was like, have I ever watched a Spider-Man movie where the villain doesn't die at the end up until like Homecoming?
Sandman
doesn't die.
Sandman like just flies away. Like
I'll just say, like, I might be the only one with this like viewpoint, which means I think that all of you guys are wrong. But like Spider-Man, like he pissed me off when they were down in that dungeon and they were doing that spell. Like I actually was like getting upset. Like Peter,
shut up.
First off, you can have that conversation with Aunt May again. Like I promise you, it's not worth ruining.
She was pretty cool about
everything.
It the first time.
Yeah,
like
at least she remembers who the fuck you are.
Yeah, happy like maybe you need to like have him know, but you don't really need to have him know because Iron Man's not here, and you already have the glasses.
Pretty easy explanation.
And
he's
in
the superhero world.
So, like, what else can you get from Stark? You know what I mean? And then like it was Ned and MJ, because why do you want to do this? You want to go to college with who? Ned and MJ. Yeah. Those are the two people, and he just like, I don't know if it was the writing of it, if it was the whatever, but it was just like this. Oh, no. One more. Oh, no. One more. Like just constantly, just like, it was like 4 times in a row. And I was like, Peter Parker is so smart. They cured all of these people in 25 minutes in a high school lab, correct?
Too, where I'm just
like,
they're
very smart people. Yeah. So like
whipping up some science.
I get that it's like, yes, this is comic booky, and it is part of Spider-Man's character to kind of be like self-destructive and then learn something about himself to fix that problem. I'm totally fine with that. And I love the like, this Peter Parker is young. They've really gone into Tom Holland Peter Parker, like driving home the fact that he is a kid trying to learn how to like take this power and have all this responsibility. But if we're gonna go off the basis that he is so smart, like you got to learn from some of your mistakes. And we've seen a lot of them in the 5 movies that you've been in prior. And for the one mistake to be like, oh no, I need this, and I need that, and I need this, and I need that. Like it was just, it just kind of pissed me
Wong
off.
would have nailed it.
I think that though is like at the heart of this movie's theme, which is the same thing Doctor Strange says, is like, dude, people can know where they can't. Like you cannot keep trying to live 2 lives. And I think like that is the earliest traces of that in this movie. Is like because that's what leads to Doctor Strange being like, dude,
makes a great ending.
Fuck. Yeah. And it does. So that's actually, I wanted to lead into the ending because I feel like we're on that track. But the idea that Peter Parker is now back to a completely anonymous nobody living in a shitty apartment with a homemade costume, and like all he's got is like spider powers in a dream. Like this Peter Parker starts so high. He comes into the MCU 3/4 of the way through, and Iron Man sets him up, gives him access to the whole armory, and then the entirety of like, you know, this kid's never not got an AI in his ear up until this movie. So the idea that like now he is on his own and he is swinging around Manhattan, just trying his best. I am so in for whatever Spider-Man 4 ends up looking like, watching Tom Holland have to grow up. I think that's the other thing. Like we gave the kid all the toys and expected him not to like hurt himself while he was playing. And he totally does again and again and again.
And we'll go around the ending and just kind of all the thoughts, but I'm with you. I loved it. I liked it even better hearing that there's a 4th one. I don't know if I would have loved it as the ending of like Spider-Man. But like all the plot hole problems I have, I do think, like I said, like at the end of the day, you can forgive that because the highs are so high and because like it all kind of comes together and the theme hits and like the heart of this movie hits. And like, there are, like you said, like even that line in the beginning, there are sprinkles of like, this is where it's going. And in the moment I'm sad because I love Zendaya and Tom Holland, and who knows, like that might figure its way out, but like you're sad in the moment, but at the same time you're like, oh, but it's perfect. Like it is the perfect way for this to end. And it's back to like him just leaving the apartment. It's like, oh, now we're back to like, which I did miss a little bit because the MCU, me and Kevin talked about it last week on our preview. The MCU is why some of those Spider-Man movies are great, but it's also kind of a crutch, which is a good thing and a bad thing. And now it can kind of be its own thing. It's going to be in the MCU, which is good. And the real win of this is that he didn't like leave to go to a Sony verse or something at the end of this movie. But like, I think it did hit, and some of the issues I had, like when the ending comes together as good as in the 3rd act was as good as it is, it's very easy to forgive that stuff. Kevin's, what were your thoughts kind of on the ending? Most people seem to like it.
I love the ending. Just like now that he's on his own, like Connor was saying, you can finally see that he's grown into the role. Like Tom Holland is finally the Spider-Man who I always thought he was. And now that he's all on his own, he's got no Stark tech. He's got his own suit that looks just like the comics, which I love. I think it's a perfect way to go into this next trilogy where he's in college and will be on his own this time.
And not only like just a perfect way to end this movie, but at the heart of it, that is what this trilogy is. And I think that's why this trilogy tells the most cohesive story, I think, out of any of the Marvel trilogies. And the ending for that trilogy is like, oh, that hits based on literally themes we explored. Part of like what Trevor's talking about is the mess ups. And we would like to see maybe a little bit of growth, but overall, that was the growth to kind of be a grown up and I'm on my own and stuff like that. Yeah. Kev?
I think just in reflection, the most underrated lines in this entire movie are Doctor Strange flipping between Stephen and Sir, going between what Peter calls him and stuff. It echoes kind of what we've been saying on this whole journey between boyhood and manhood throughout this film, learning from your mistakes. Obviously, he makes up for it in the end, and he has to do this massive sacrifice. And Stephen finally, just, you are an equal, you are an Avenger. I'm Stephen. Don't call me Sir. And it just shows how much, as a character, he's grown and fallen and grown and learned to communicate with everyone else, including Doctor Strange, which I had, hinted at. He's such an underrated part of this movie. I love everything that Benedict Cumberbatch contributes in that he's trying to fill like the Tony Stark kind of mentor role. Never, ever has any experience with kids up to this. So he is more aggressive. He is just meaner to him. but deep down they love each other, and I am just really blown away by how they take on this entire grand arc of Tom Holland's Spider-Man just becoming the Spider-Man that we've known him to possibly be for this entire movie series. And I can't express how happy I was leaving this movie theater. Happy I was.
Thanos' is right hand man. Actually, he's not popular with the children. He's pretty mean to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about the third act then in general. That last final fight scene was so good. I love the way that the Spider-Man didn't kind of work as a team at first, because none of them had. And that's such like a cool thing to explore. Yeah. Just being like that one line, it's like, oh yeah, like you're it in your universe. Like that's crazy. The Avengers, that's great.
Are you in a band?
Yeah. So, that was one of my favorite Toby lines. The Avengers, that's great. Yeah. What is that? So funny. And then just him being like, oh, like this is something I have that I can bring to the team. And it is his movie. So like having him kind of be the leader, it was a good way to have the youngest guy kind of be the leader. Because he had been in a situation like that. I thought the fight sequences were great. I really enjoyed the one-on-ones with the villains, like the moments there that they had to kind of put a bow on that relationship or that thing, curing all of them. I will say one of my least favorite parts of this movie, and this is where this movie's not perfect. Like there are just such convenient writing stuff that's like, okay, like I guess if you're just telling us that's how it works and we're gonna thumbs up it. One of them to me is Ned learning magic.
Thank God you said it.
Why not?
No, that's
Kevin. Why not?
Why not?
Why not is the problem. Why not is the problem. That's a stupid thing.
Real.
And
Why
they use it too much.
Learn it? It's not
because
blood or anything.
We saw an entire movie of him months, and Doctor Strange couldn't even make the damn circle. I hate that he could just do
Ned
it.
Can't be Sorcerer Supreme. Like again, he really wants to, and he's got the tingle in his fingers. He's like, kid's got like heart issues or something. Let him have it.
I like to think he has such an open mind to everything, and being best friends with Spider-Man in high school opened his mind to possibilities. He didn't go into it with a negative headspace like Stephen Strange.
That's
and
true.
Like his grandma said, he is magically innate. So he did it on his first try. You can go fuck yourself, JD.
I
He's got that heavy want. It's all heart. It's
all
he's
heart.
like, I just wish. He literally says, I wish we could see Peter again. And like he means it with so much gusto.
You're the same guys that are like, rats walk on vans all the time, guys. Shit happens, all right? It's a very little thing, but they used it a lot for the plot. That's a part I didn't love it.
Right now, I tell you what, you fucking hate it. But when they announced that Wong and fucking Ned are getting their own Disney Plus series, I can't wait to listen to that episode where you're like, oh my God, my most anticipated Marvel property of next year. Like, you're gonna
I've always liked Ned as a magician.
From
the start.
Yeah.
I'm going to take this time, since I'm the negative Nilly of the group. Electro shouldn't be there because he doesn't know who Spider-Man is. Sorry. What? It's everyone who knows who Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
Whatever.
Electro doesn't know he's Peter Parker.
No, he doesn't. But whatever. I don't care.
Again, whatever. Like, we're just doing that a little too much. There are holes in this movie. Sandman is like, I want to go home. Why are you helping the other group of bad guys?
Stop. Yeah. Like,
Lizard's like, I'm going to stay in the car. Away. It's like, why? Like,
Doc Ock runs away after like the goblin fight. And I'm like, help, my dude. Yeah. Like,
where are you going?
Help.
You're a good guy now. We just established that, which was a great scene. Him, Peter, my boy, like that was so good because it was right back into the space he was when they were kind of together. Talk openly, like the final act, like, I mean, I'm like sobbing, chills, the Peter beating the shit out of the goblin and them teaching him the anger moment. Anyone take a thread and go.
Third act, my absolute favorite part is watching Tom Holland go absolute like rage mode, like, and just like the shots that they had of his face, the way that they showed, like he is throwing every single ounce of his
left and right,
like, and he is just, and the Green Goblin is still just like psychotic, and like he doesn't, like, it's like you can tell he's beating him down, but he's also like, he's got that Heath Ledger Joker, like just like he just likes it a little bit too much. And I mean, I'll be honest. I wanted him to kill him so bad. Like I wanted.
Trevor's like, stab him.
I wanted.
He killed
so
Aunt May.
Exactly.
We didn't even talk about Aunt May, by the way.
Yeah,
I wanted it so bad. That was by far my favorite. I will say, I think what stole from it a little bit was I loved the intensity between Toby and Tom, like when they have the glider and he's kind of like, come on, dude, like you're better than this. Be like, be the Spider-Man that everybody needs you to be. And then you hear the like sling and it's like the stab. And then I'm like, holy shit, is Toby going to die? And I thought like, it's a real possibility because I don't really know how much he actually wanted to do this.
I nailed my prediction. Of course he's dying.
And then they're like, hey, that looked like it hurt. Yeah, that hurt a lot. He's like,
I'm not gonna lie, I loved that.
I didn't love that.
I saw it and I was worried too. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna die. And then he's like, I've been stabbed before. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. You're fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right? Oh yeah, I've been stabbed before.
Yeah,
stabbed before. Like
after the hug,
I love that.
You're in a lot of pain, huh? Oh yeah.
It was literally me and my older brother. That looked like it hurt. Yep. All right. Never see you again. Like that's all it was.
It was a little strange.
I liked it. Again, it's the guys. There were 3 men dressed as in red spandex shooting webs this whole movie. Like whatever. Forget everything you know.
Leading up to that though, that fight scene was
I've seen that on Door
everything
Street
that I needed. That beatdown was everything that I needed.
Cool.
The like web your foot so that I can like keep you in position. Web your face down into my flying knee. Like it was
literally out of the PS4 game. It was nuts.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect.
And there were moments too when they're like back at the high rise back before May's death where like they're out on the balconies and like he does something similar where like he like webs himself up onto the balcony above and then back down onto Goblin and like he really throws his weight around, which is so cool. And I think for Tom Holland, Spider-Man works better than any of the others because like Garfield's this long lanky dude, like Maguire's got like an actual torso on him. Like these guys look like adults and Tom Holland like is again, I mean he's jacked. You see him at the beginning of the movie, but like he's jacked in a way that like he's
uncharted weight gain muscles plan.
Yeah, but he's still a kid. You're like, all right, cool, like that's cute, like you're a JV wrestler. It's kind of jacked. But no, I thought that like, the action feels the most like off a comic book page. Like it feels like you would turn the page and like that's your massive splash is like this not even wide shot, but like this like well locked off like Peter just wailing on Goblin. And it felt like that. Like I don't know, amazing Kevin, maybe you picked up on it, but like it's one of those things that like John Wick is so fun to watch because like they just set the camera far enough back and they just leave it. Like
they just don't cut.
You're like, all right, cool, like fucking go.
See all the movements,
and, like, that's actually kind of how this felt in a lot of cases. Like they cut in when they needed to cut in, but like I feel like we just watched them fight for a little while as well, especially when they're like down on the shield.
Yep.
Yeah, this is like the first Tom Holland Spider-Man where he's actually throwing punches too. And he never really fights Vulture in Homecoming, and then he just uses his spider sense. Yeah.
No.
And
like but we've seen this guy go toe to toe with Captain America at the same time.
True.
Like this is that same character that like
and
we
Thanos.
watched. Like he magic with a kick. Like this kid can throw him, but he's never actually like done it in his movies.
But now that he wants revenge, he's just unleashing all of his power. I like that it's Tobey Maguire Spider-Man to stop him too.
Yeah.
But I wish Tobey said something in that moment instead of just kind of like staring at him. It was kind of weird. It was a little awkward.
It could have been like a single word like don't. Like please, like not this like
or
no.
Literally, bro, we talked about this on the rooftop like 20 minutes ago. Did that not resonate?
I'm glad he didn't say power and responsibility one more time because when someone says that, it's like they're dying.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. Those are last
Damn it,
words.
there goes Toby.
Rem's last words, boys.
Yeah.
I
am glad that they finally said that in this movie.
Yes.
They finally brought great power. But
I loved Aunt May being the kind of Uncle Ben like character. And having that moment. And I think it's great, but me and Connor kind of said the same thing. It was really weirdly like directed to where it's like, I'm okay. I'm like walking around and then like, I didn't like that. I still like tears in my eyes, like still a great moment when she's actually dying. Because the entire time, like I know she's dying, but it was like a weird direction. I would have been fine to go lean into like the less realistic, the more dramatic movie, like Death in My Arms thing. I would have been fine with that. But this probably is more realistic. Why do you disagree?
Because the first shot, you know she's dead. That explosion shot, and the camera does a back out as soon as the explosion hits, and she just goes flying. This is like a 15, 20-foot just concussion blast. She's fucking gone. Everyone knows she's gone. But the fact that she gets back up and she drags Peter up as a last action that she's alive, and then she gives a speech that propels him to the third act, obviously there's no chance of Aunt May leaving that room alive. But this, 45-second, 50-second bit is just twisting the knife a little bit harder, and I say give it to me.
I agree, Kev. And I also think that the with the great power comes great responsibility line, I think it when she said that, it kind of reminded me of Endgame, where you've watched a bunch of Avengers. Cap has never said assemble, you know what I mean? And it's like, it could have been very easy for Tony Stark in the first one to be like, here's this cool suit. You're an Avenger now. With great power comes great responsibility. You could have done that. It'd be super serviceable. Yep. But Marvel has done such a good job of taking these things that people are known for, these one-liners that they're known for, and being like, we're going to make you earn it, and we're going to make it damn good. And I really liked how, I agree, I didn't mind the Aunt May death. I thought it was very good. I thought it was very powerful. I didn't mind that she got up. You know, it was all good for me, but the delivery and the timing of the line and coming from her instead of an Uncle Ben is like, I loved it.
I am actually going to contest too, though, that like that line has been said. It hasn't been said like that. Like, it's cool that we get it beat for beat, but like one of the first things Spider-Man ever says on screen is when he's with Tony.
Oh yeah, the idea of it.
Yeah, like he says, like when when you can do what I can do and you don't, and bad things happen, they happen because of you. Like, and it leads me to believe like Uncle Ben must have said that to him before, like whoever our dead Ben
is.
It's
Matthew McConaughey in my mind.
Yeah, I've actually seen, there are a lot of tweets circling right now with like pictures of George Costanza and Marissa Tomei from when she was on Seinfeld. And it's like, I'm going
with great responsibility, yada, yada, yada.
Peter, with great power, great responsibility, I'm telling you. No, but I think it works. I think, like, again, on the script, I think that scene is mega emotional. And again, same thing, like when he's left with her body and he's like, it's just you and me. It's just you and me. We're going to be okay. So we're all right. Like, it's much more sad when it's just him alone in a room with a corpse by the end of it. I still can't get, like, it just read is weird. And I don't know why. Like, again, I've watched the movie once. It was a couple days ago. At this point, it's foggier than ever. But like when she got up and was like, come on, we're getting out of here. Like, I get it. Yes. She's like, plucky. We're going to go. It's adrenal. It's whatever. What I found weird is when she's like, I got to catch my breath. And then like he puts his hand on her and he pulls it away and he's like, oh, there's the blood. I'm like, well, where was that in the wide shot we were just looking at? Like, I like, when did she start? Also,
it was dark in that room.
Fine, I'll give it to you. But again,
she was fine. When Spider-Man laid her down, he stabbed her. She was fine.
No, I don't know. I don't know why, but as I was watching, I was like, this reading is so weird to me. And then, like, again, it's sad by the time it actually gets sad. But like in the moment, it just felt a little funky to me.
It's so perfect for the movie because it actually takes it up a level to the emotional. It's the emotional, like, mid-moment that they needed because, like, Peter feels responsible, but a lot of times it's like we see in a movie, it's like, oh, like, dude, you're beating yourself up for something like you can't control. Yeah. This, like, there is enough of like the whole idea of the movie, like, people around me are getting hurt because they know me. Like, this is on me. Mm-hmm. At the same time, there's enough of it there that she lets him off the hook beforehand that you can be like, all right, I can go on being like, yeah, Peter messed up. But at the same time, like, it's because of Aunt May's advice that kind of killed Aunt May, and she tells him it's okay, even though he's beating himself up. That's why when the Spider-Men come, and that's like it happens right after, that moment on the thing hits so much because it's like, dude, like, we have messed up, but like we can't stop what we're doing, and we cannot beat ourselves up over this. And I like that she gave him almost permission to let himself go beforehand, even though in that moment you're still going to be emotionally distraught. But it allows me, because a lot of times it's like, this person dies, act 3, we're kicking ass and making jokes. And it's like, this person just died. Like, that happens in movies a lot.
Same night. Like, that just happened a couple hours ago.
Dude, like, the most important person in your life is like, that happens in movies. And it's like, did that even happen? It's a good job of transitioning into that where you can, like, he's still, emotionally not over it, but he's trying to distract himself, get his head in the game. But also, like, her letting him off the hook, but him not accepting it until the Spider-Man happened, I think is the perfect push for that third act. Going into it. And I just thought they absolutely nailed that part of it, which is why, like, the heart of the movie works, even though some of the plot doesn't for me.
Yes. I also, now that we're talking about it too, like, I think that plays so much better, even because he does seem to be, like, relatively okay. But again, I think he's, like, distracted, eyes on the prize, like, I've got a mission type of thing when he's with the other Spider-Men. And it isn't until it is just him and Goblin one-on-one when he is like, oh, never mind, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Like, actually, no, I am going to kill you. I've changed my mind.
Right. Similar to how me and Trevor are bad with death, so we make jokes. That's it. Like, everyone's got that defense mechanism, going on. And then, there is a moment usually where it's like all that emotion is like, oh shit, here it comes and I can't stop it. And I like that we saw that moment because it's real. Like, that's a real thing for anyone who's ever dealt with something like that. I love that. That's a good point, Connor. Kevin's thoughts? Anything to add to the Aunt May situation or anything like that?
Not add. We're running a little bit long. I'm good.
Yeah, well, this is also like, this is all we're doing. We're not doing the other part of the show, but we'll finish up here. I just want to. I love how we
the coffee shop and get out of here.
Coffee shop. Oh,
the very end.
The very last scene. Yeah, we can do that, and then I just thoughts on like where we go from here. Too. If somebody, Kevin, go ahead. What was your?
I thought this was the best possible way to really showcase the trials and tribulations of being Spider-Man. He loves people so passionately, so deeply, but in the end, he knows that trouble follows Spider-Man. Just like Joker follows Batman. You can't get attached because people are going to be happier without you. And the way that he interacts with MJ, he writes a whole speech out and he tries to get through it, but she's laughing and giggling about MIT. And then he sees the cut on her eyebrow and he just knows. He just knows. And then he walks away. I love it.
Yeah. I like that it takes it from thought exercise, like your typical, like, would the world be better without me, like Spider-Man-ism. And it like just totally lets it materialize. And he sees the answer in front of him and he's like, fuck. Yeah, they would be. Like, they would absolutely, unequivocally be better if I didn't know them and they didn't know me. And there was no, like, crisis of I'm Spider-Man and and that puts you in danger. Yes, your life would 100% be better without that. So I'm going to remove myself from the equation. And that's like the heroic thing I can do here.
Right. Even though, you would never let me. This is kind of my way to do it because it would never he was in 2D. Like MJ just would have never had that. I mean, he tried to do it a couple times throughout, and it just was never going to happen.
I would still love to see them end up together again. Like, I think that would be a stretch in the writers' room, but who knows? Down the line, like, there's a way to make that happen. I'd be more than happy to be here for it because I think they do nail it. That's
kind of lead in. Amazing, Kev. What do you think? Like, where do you think they go from here? I mean, obviously, we talked about like we love the idea of like him just being his own Spider-Man and things like that. And we got the symbiote, but hopefully not Tom Hardy. That was my favorite part was the post-credit scene. It's like, yes, he's going back, and we got the symbiote, and it could just be something else.
Danny Rojas.
Where do you think we? Yeah, Danny
Rojas. Yes.
Any thoughts on where we go from here? Is it going to be more Toby-ish? I guess.
I'm hoping that I do like that. He's going to college, and that's where he meets like Harry and Gwen in the comics. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of hoping I hope they bring back MJ and Ned, but I hope that Peter finds new friends in this new trilogy to set that up more, maybe like a Black Cat or something. Mm-hmm. But that'd be cool. I do hope that because Ned and Peter's relationship is so good. Like, you don't really see that in the other Spider-Man movies. Like, his friends are so much better in these movies. Yeah. They give a lot more heart to it. So I hope that Ned's the comic relief, so he's always fun to have around. So I hope they bring him back, but I'm more excited to see the new characters that they can bring into Tom's universe with like Harry Osborn, the Osborns, maybe Black Cat, Gwen Stacy. So
get back in more into like comic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because like the MCU part of it does make it harder to be like straight comic booky, kind of like Spider-Man, but more modern day with Tom Holland. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we have all the pieces now to make the perfect Spider-Man movie.
Exactly.
I think we're coming close to like, not that this wasn't like great, but like it's just different than our prototypical Spider-Man stories. I think we're going to start to get those.
Yeah,
for sure.
I have a quick question because we know based on Disney Plus Day, what was that, like a month ago now? Like we're getting another animated Marvel series called Spider-Man Freshman Year. Is that freshman year of college? Because at first when we saw that, I was like, oh,
no, it's high school.
Yeah,
I
it's
think it's high school. It's very unrelated, I think. But yeah, no, it's
like I think now we're poised, like we're at the perfect place where we like, yes, we get Tom Holland for movies, but like I feel like now we're getting like close to the ground Spider-Man, like just kind of back to like fighting New York crime, like throw Shocker back in, give me like again the throwaway CBD your villains.
Like, they built it, you know. They've mentioned the Prowler, they've mentioned Shocker, like these guys are out there in the universe, and it could end they could end up being, you know, people that he has to deal with, whether they be like, I don't know if they're the villain in a movie. They're itching to do Craven, that's for sure. But they're going to do that.
That's been in a back pocket for
that's what this movie was originally supposed to be.
Forever, yeah.
They got to bring in Scorpion.
They can, right? Exactly.
Oh my God, please do.
They have a lot of
weird. The costume for Scorpion was really weird.
Yeah, Vulture. It's Vulture before we saw it. Feels weird, like Mysterio feels.
A wingsuit, I can imagine. I can't really put my mind around a elongated tail that puts out.
It could just be like a Doc Ock inspired appendage. That dude could be like, hey, remember when those other dudes were like out there? I don't know. I agree.
Like,
I think that would be cool.
Like I've come to the conclusion that like there's just such good creative minds because like in theory, like there's no way like Scarecrow should work on screen, you know, like in the Batman Begins or like stuff like that. Like there are villains like that. Mysterio, there's no way I was ever going to get a live action Mysterio ever. Like in my mind, like it was like no possible way. And they nailed it in kind of a perfect way. So I have faith in their ability to do that. I hope to God the Venom parasite we get is not the same Venom like voice and like
I hope it doesn't talk to him.
No, I want it to be badass like Venom, because the idea that we have not gotten a good version of Venom yet after like what you say, there's 10 of these, like is incredible to me. You're now 11, like in 11 Spider-Man projects, we have not gotten a good Venom, which is the main staple bad guy, is insane, and I want it so bad. Let's go around and final thoughts. Connor and Trev, like did it just nail it? And Connor, you said like just talking about like in the beginning of like, yeah, it's like every, like it brought out the little kid in all of us. I think Kevin said that too. Final thoughts up in the brothers corner.
What are you thinking?
Final thought. I really wish him and MJ were together. I'm a sucker for a good love story. I know I'm the guy that went
like
on
a necessary pain. Yeah.
I went on the 5-minute rant about like learn your lessons. You're a smart guy. But the selfish Trevor inside of me is like, make that mistake again and again and again. Like, so I you know, it, like I said at the beginning, it's so much fun. It's hard to like, I thought like, while I was sitting here quiet, like I was going to put one word to like describe it. I can't.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. Spider-Man. hyphenated. It's incredible. I think we did justice here, poking a couple plot holes, things like that, because it was not perfect, but it's very, very good. And I think it's probably the most fun MCU movie that I've seen.
Yeah. It's a fireworks display, man. Like, again, this is equal parts movie as it is spectacle, as it is like, where were you when No Way Home came out? Like, you know, This is going to be one of those, like, how loud was your showing type of things. This is the conversation you're having in bars moving forward with friends. Yeah, I mean, again, it's crazy. It just gets bigger and bigger. I mean, the one thing that we eclipsed again that I mentioned before we started recording, but like Daredevil was Spider-Man's lawyer, and we didn't even fucking touch on that.
Yeah,
and that just goes to show how big.
With one of the best lines in the movie. I'm a really good lawyer. I'm a really good best lines in the movie.
Yeah, like it's incredible. But we just talked for an hour and 17 minutes and didn't mention that until right now. But like that's just how this movie goes. Like it starts and it fucking throws a brick on the gas pedal and like takes it off an Evel Knievel jump and makes it. Like it lands somehow.
amazing, Kevin. Probably one of the biggest Spider-Man, if not the biggest Spider-Man fan I know. You've enjoyed all 3 generations of it for different reasons. Is just like the perfect icing on the cake of what you wanted it to be.
It is. Yeah, I love it. And there were so many, there could have been so many mistakes they could have made with this movie, bringing back all the villains and Spider-Man and messing up the characters, and they didn't. They made it just was perfect in every way. Yes, there's plot holes, but for what I was wanting, I got it, and I love it, and I'm excited to see where the MCU takes Spider-Man from here on. So
nice.
It was really good. Not my favorite Spider-Man movie, but definitely up there.
Wow, that's shocking, actually. But unless you're going to say Spider-Verse.
No, Tobey Maguire still has my heart. Spider-Man 2.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Spider-Man 2 is high on our list.
Yeah,
check out our spoiler, or check out our list, people who are watching.
Spider-Man ranked and reviewed.
But yeah, it's pretty high for me too. Other Kev, what are your final thoughts here?
So we ranked the MCU a couple weeks ago, JD, and you put Guardians of the Galaxy. No, you put Thor Ragnarok. I'm sorry, you put Thor Ragnarok on top of Endgame.
Okay, weird to bring up, I guess. Yes, I did.
And you brought up
a point.
Idiot!
Has that been building up?
You brought up the point.
I didn't have the balls to say to you in the moment, but I do now.
Yeah. No, it's just you brought up the point that it's spectacle versus entertainment, which is your 1 and 2 versus Endgame and Ragnarok. This is now my Ragnarok. I think this has a strong chance of, on any given Sunday, me wanting to watch this more than Endgame. I really do. I think this could very well be my number 1 Marvel movie, and just one of the best movies I've seen in years. I love this.
Kevin, we'll throw it on our list in the next one to start, because I don't have the graphics or anything, but we'll rank them officially in our list, non-spoilers or whatever, in our next full show. But I love this movie, obviously, as you guys have said. It brings together 3 generations of Spider-Man, which is awesome, and an accomplishment. And this movie is an accomplishment, 100%. And they listen to the fans, and turns out when you listen to fans, people love your movie. Shocker. Now, I'm not saying movie by committee or anything like that. I love movies that make other movies better. Similar to Rogue One, I think makes the Star Wars trilogy better. I think the Disney next 3 make it worse, but that's a different story. But I love movies that retroactively add something to a character and make it better. And I think they did make those other movies better. I really do. That being said, I've heard it compared to the Endgame of Spider-Man. And although I get that sentiment, this doesn't touch Endgame. It just doesn't. It was 23 movies. It's so much more fleshed out. All the ideas we get are within this movie, and there's a lot going on, and it's great. It does not touch Endgame. That's the one comparison I'm hearing where I'm like, no, I won't hear that.
Not on scale.
I just won't hear. Yeah. That being said, I love this movie. I think Homecoming is going to be my number 1 still. This is probably 3rd or 4th on my Spider-Man list, top to bottom. I still think Spider-Verse. I think Spider-Verse hits it a little better and nails the concept better.
No.
And I love this movie. And I know that's unless you say it's the best Spider-Man movie ever, you're going to be like, what? I can love this movie and say it I still think Homecoming nails it better. It's my favorite in that trilogy still. It really is. But I do absolutely this movie deserves a lot of credit. It is an achievement. On the surface, I get the Endgame comparison of how big it is, of how it brings everything together. But I don't want to end with a negative. So I will say I absolutely love this movie. And I feel bad for Jamie Foxx because Spider-Man was white and he didn't deserve that.
I hope he gets cyberbullied.
Who, Jamie Foxx?
No, you.
Oh, I was like,
no,
that's
Jamie
me.
Foxx. No.
I was like, no, wait.
I love Jamie Foxx.
I love Django.
I do. I gotta say though, I love the idea of the there's got to be a black Spider-Man out there somewhere. What a fantastic little.
Just enough.
Just enough.
Also,
Just
please,
enough.
I just want Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland to be additional voices into the Spider-Verse too, or across the Spider-Verse. They don't even need to be their Spider-Man. They just can be
Tom Holland said he was contacted. That's
God,
who knows?
Stop giving that kid a microphone.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
They gotta stop. And I gotta stop reading it. I just want to say thank you guys so much. I know you guys are taking time out of your day. Me and Kevin super appreciate it. Having the Titsworth brothers on again was a blast, and having Kevin on for the first time, and we'll have you on for more stuff, Kevin.
Awesome.
We'll find your biggest passions and have you on for those reviews. It was a ton of fun, and it was cool to kind of bullshit about Spider-Man with you, knowing that's kind of like we came up on Toby together. But just thank you guys. Yeah, thank you guys so much. We super appreciate it, and I hope you guys check out all the old ranking list, and we'll next week in our show put it together. But thank you guys so much. And for some reason I didn't get shit spoiled. So everyone out there, you got my message. With great power comes great responsibility. Love you all.
Don't be a dick.